Boom, hello, welcome. This is me for the third night in a row live. This is a bit too much, so I know I always say this and I very seldom fail to actually execute, but I do plan to actually keep it short tonight. I hope everyone's well. I hope everyone is keeping their rooms humidified. I am not, but we're down to 40% and it's probably going to go down less than that. I should get the humidifier out even though I haven't cleaned it since last year, which is a problem. But yes, it's pretty dry at the moment in Tokyo. So yes, winter is coming. Autumn is here. The weather has been great. But you got to start caring about that stuff that you don't have to worry. So worry about like dryness and all that sort of stuff, which happens. How are you all doing? I guess I saw you last night on 2.5 Oyajis, and I saw some of you in person and some of you online 2 nights before that with Rochelle at the Japan Business Time Live. That went really, really well, by the way, I thought. I mean, it was a good conversation. You could sort of see by the way that we did it, we could have done that for another 2 hours and it would have kept up pretty interesting, I think. Wei Gaijin, nice to meet you, Wei Gaijin. That's a username I don't recognize, so welcome. It's always nice to see new names. And good to see a lot of the regulars in here as well. Let's check out, see who's here and say hello. We got Sergeant Bilko, Aphex, Dokan and Salidi. Good to see you, Salidi. And yes, I'm sorry, I was actually, I just had another really long, busy day today. So I sat down at like 9 o'clock and I started watching Witness, which is actually, I've seen a couple of movies lately actually. I watched Scarface. It was on, I just recorded it, and it was the first time I've watched Scarface in like 20 years. And I know it must have been 20 years because I know I haven't seen it since Grand Theft Auto came out. Because I didn't actually realize until I watched that movie. If you play Grand Theft Auto Vice City, it's pretty obvious actually that it borrows a lot of scenes and influence from Scarface. I never actually clicked on how much they actually borrowed the soundtrack, and that was pretty cool. So yeah, I actually clicked on all of the songs from the soundtrack of Scarface. I know really well from playing Grand Theft Auto so much, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, what else? I saw the movie Showgirls, which I thought had Demi Moore in it, and I thought was good. And for some reason, the name of a movie I associate, maybe I got it wrong, but Showgirls, terrible movie. That was like the worst movie. It was so bad. I actually, sometimes when I'm watching a movie and I realize it's really bad, I stop the movie for a minute and I open up Rotten Tomatoes just to check, is it me? And I confirmed it wasn't me. It had like a 19% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It became enjoyable just from its badness. So yeah, The Gauntlet. I saw that the other day as well for the first time again in a long time. They're good movies actually. It's nice to be watching good movies even with crap movies in that. Very good to see you, Mata Gaijinka. Great to see you, Mr. Kordychev. Good to see you. I am good. My throat's a bit. I've been talking too much, I guess, the last few days. Who else we got here? We got Hemingford Grey, 62, from Milton Keynes, I believe. That's Hemingford Grey 62, yes. Who else we got? We got Lara. Great to see you, Lara. Great to see that you could join. Who else we got in here? Tai Nakamura, of course. Great to see you. Welcome. Icarus 18. Thanks for joining. Wow, I mean, given that everyone got like 60 seconds notice, it's pretty impressive actually that we've already got such a great turnout. Andrea Moboy, awesome to see you. Odie Jr., man, the whole gang is in here. I was expecting to be half on my own, so that's pretty cool. It's funny, I haven't had hay fever tonight, but maybe just the act of talking by myself triggers it as well. Maybe I'm allergic to vlogging. Who knows, that would be pretty bad. Also, that's funny, Mr. Kordychev. That's what was really bugging me about that movie. There were a lot of boobies in that movie, and yet it really, it wasn't doing anything, and I was wondering, is it me? What's wrong with this? And I found out from Rotten Tomatoes that no, it's not just me. So yes, anyway, so I don't have a planned magazine. Hey, Jim Gates, great to see you, welcome. I don't have a planned Flipboard again because, again, I've just been kind of flat out lately. So I'm just going to go through my Twitter instead. I'm also going to use that trick that I used before of muting when I blow my nose, because I do have to blow my nose now. That is good that works. Oh wow! Phoenix sent in his presidential election ballot. Where did you vote for that? What is it? Erotic Eric guy? Like you said, you were going to do that third-party candidate guy. What's his name? The tiger guy. Anyway, I'm glad that you voted Phoenix. Whatever it is, because it means that this will almost all be over, and I can't wait for that. That will be awesome. Yeah, great to see you, Andrea. Oh, did I forget to mute? Oh, did that not work? What did I do last time? Okay, you know what? I think I just switched off the monitor. Maybe that was it. Nah, never mind. Anyway, it works on the Field & Johnson, yes. It works on the Hangout, but not on this one, I guess. Let's get into some topics and stuff. I've also got a music track which I might play, but like I said, I am going to keep it short. So what have we got here? In fact, that's easier if I read looking straight ahead. So Taiwan's decided that they're going to shut down all of their nuclear reactors. Yes, Jason is lost. Great to see you, and thank you. And I know he voted Gary Johnson. I mean, why not Jill Stein if you're going to vote for third party? I don't know. I mean, they're all kind of the same at this point. Yes, Taiwan is getting rid of all of its nuclear power plants directly because of the Fukushima disaster. So Germany and Taiwan now have directly, because of the Fukushima disaster, given up all of their nuclear power. I found that interesting. This is an Australian lady who is a rape victim from near the US base in Yokosuka, and she's pointed out there's no victim support, there's no rape crisis centers or anything in Japan, and she gave a view which was published in the Jiji.com, which is one of the news wires like Reuters in Japan, basically saying that Japan is 100 years behind the rest of the world on this sort of thing. Yeah, Norinagi, good to see you. And you know what? I still haven't gotten back to your message. I keep forgetting that, so I'm sorry about that. Yeah, Taya, I keep seeing you. Yeah, if I ever make it there to Detroit, I'd like to try this airsoft. I know people who play it in Japan, and actually, if you came to Japan, you could do it here. There are people who do it really seriously out here. In fact, maybe that's when we do it. When you come out here, I'll find airsoft, and you take me and show it to me. It looks like a lot of fun. I mean, it looks pretty serious as well. I mean, it looks pretty militarized, but yes, well, Phoenix, you're a free market capitalist, but I found you can be inconsistent with that position when it comes to things like YouTube and so on. You're very socialist minded when it comes to everybody should get equal AdSense and all that sort of stuff, but that's okay. Now, Jill Stein seems very nice, and like I said, I don't care. All it means to me is that the election will be over soon if people are voting now, and that's a good thing. How to get recruited into IT companies, ensuring diverse workforces. Man, that's not so interesting. Yes, this was my reaction to finding out that Trump has come up in some of the polls again. He's only 4 points behind Clinton, and I think I did actually say, I mean, at this point, I think Trump could probably murder a hobo on live television and still poll above 40%. There are just people who are just going to support him no matter what, obviously, regardless of what he says, does, or who he is. And that is interesting and disturbing at the same time. That's not what I meant to do. That would I am sorry about that. I meant to hit mute and instead I hit cut off the stream, so there might have just been an interruption. Hey, like Japan's there, and Japan is used by the rest of the world on support for rape victims. Does it include that figure include third world countries? The lady who said it, as she said, the phrase she used is it was behind Europe and America. So she's specifically talking about first world, OECD excluding Korea, I guess. But yes, Like Japan has a random question. People in the chat room, any anime similar to Death Note and Code Geass? Looking for a new anime to watch and learn Japanese? I can't help you. Yes, that's right. So you should ask the people in the chat room. Is the voice out of sync with my mouth now? Oh, so maybe that's happened because I stopped the stream by accident, so I'm sorry about that. It will fix probably in the post rendering. Well, that's another reason to keep it short anyway. FanFest is, I believe, been announced. It's going to be a YouTube FanFest. I will be going to the one in Tokyo, which I think... oh, these are the different times. This is the Jakarta one, so this is no help whatsoever, and this was yesterday, so it doesn't matter. Okay, forget about that one. Yeah, British warplanes have been doing drills with Britain, the first country it's ever done military drills with that wasn't America. It was kind of interesting. Out of sync, you know what, that's my fault, I just did that. 2 seconds, damn. Okay. I don't know what I can do about that. You know what, I know the reason for that, and the only way I can stop it is by starting the stream again, which I can't do. So I'm sorry about that. Oh, is it better now? I hope it's better now. Tokyo, Kyoto named best cities outside the US in the world. I'm surprised actually that cities in the US beat it. Yes, I'm sorry about that. Oh. Hemingford Gray 62. No, I cannot. I wouldn't be here if I obviously. I mean, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be doing this if I could do that. I don't think anyone would. But yes. Well, let's just soldier through anyway. What's been interesting here? Oh man! By the way, did anyone hear about the 3 explosions in Utsunomiya today? So Utsunomiya is Tochigi, I think, not Saitama. A 72-year-old ex-self-defense force guy decided to commit suicide, or maybe it was accidental, I don't know, but he set off 3 bombs. He blew up his car, his house, and he set off a bomb in a park, injured a bunch of people, and killed himself. Damn, what is this? It's hay fever, Trondheim, but this time of year, I always get this. Damn. Anyway, so yeah, everyone was thought, because it was 3 explosions went off at the same time, so everyone thought it might have been a terror attack, which it kind of was, but it was an ex-military guy. So yes, well, it's another guy who basically wanted to commit suicide. He was 72 years old. He wanted to commit suicide, and he did it in a way that involved, affecting a lot of other people. Oh dear, I'm still not good, am I? This whole, it's kind of. Well, that's right. This is a thing. Could he have not done it in a way which was a little less disruptive to other people? And the answer to that, I don't know. Yeah, the charity thing sounds like a mess. Sweden bans flying drones. Sharp has shut down a factory. Future public transportation sounds cool. This is a guy who makes old TVs into bongo drums. I think that's pretty cool, like electronic ones. Yeah, apparently now if you can't get sex, you suffer a disability. I hope they start paying for that. Or not, I don't know, but that's an interesting one. The World Health Organization is going to certify not being able to have sex as a disability. A lot of people probably very excited about that. I think I noticed that the Nichan threads were getting very excited about the chance. Okay, that should do it now. What else we got here? Nikkei, World Health. Yeah, so this is Nichan reacting to. And what are they saying to this? Basically, all the Nichan threads in reaction to the World Health Organization certifying inability to have sex, or to have to find a sexual partner as being a disability. yeah, most of them are definitely recognizing the need. They want fees. They want funding for the treatment, and yeah, there's a general consensus that the World Health Organization appears to be looking out for internet netizens of Nichan, which I guess is good news for them. There is a Japanese pop culture festival and concert to be held in Tokyo next month where foreigners get in for free, the Moshi Moshi Nippon Festival 2016. And this looks pretty good. What is this? Who is playing at this thing? You can see the lineup here. There's I don't know any of these, but there again, if you're a foreigner and you get them for free, it's kind of nice. It's a nice tourism promotion thing and culture promotion thing, and you can actually check out some of the acts here. Is Capsule there? Oh, just for Capsule it would be worth it if they're played. Are they really there? Well, maybe that's not the full lineup, but if Capsule is playing, they are awesome. So anyway, yeah, it looks like it'll be pretty cool. Oh wow! So Kaoru Pamyu is going to be there as well. Wow, that's pretty. They got some serious stuff there. Free for foreigners. So there you go. Ben for president, indeed. Subsidies. I think that's what the Nichanners were advocating for, Ben Duncan. And people are going to vote for you. That's right. I see you've already got a big thing there. Tai would go to a free concert no matter what type of music, and that's the right attitude. That's why Fuji Rock is so awesome. Not that it's free, but just that you get to hear lots of music that you wouldn't go to anyway. This is kind of interesting. There was an incident during the week where anti-US based protesters in Okinawa were basically how should I describe this? A lot of the bases down there, particularly the construction of the new marine base at Henoko, requires a lot of police basically to manage the daily protests by elderly, and not just elderly, but there's a lot of activists in Okinawa who just basically every day just protest these bases, and it requires a lot of manpower to police. So Okinawa Prefecture doesn't have enough police, on standby basically to constantly deal with all the protesters. So the government has deployed special rapid deployment police forces from all over Japan down in Okinawa, and they sort of take turns cycling through. I do have to blow my nose. So yes, the Osaka guys went down there, and these things are always very heavily recorded, trying to catch each other out and provoke each other and do all sorts of stuff. Video from the protesters caught two separate incidents where police officers referred to first the Okinawan protesters as being primitives or sort of animals. Dojin are literally like dirt people, mud people. It's kind of a word for primitives or whatever. He's basically lashing back at them after some grabbing and some stuff going on. Another policeman on a separate incident called the Okinawan protesters Chinamen, Shinajin, and Chinamen in the Chinchong Chinamen kind of sense, like a kind of Shina's kind of a term that conservatives in Japan use to mock China with. Because China is actually a colonial name. It's a name that in English we give to China that Chinese never use for themselves. It's derived from a term Shina. So Japanese use the Western colonial term for China when they mock it. So when they call them Shinajin, they're asking them if they are basically, again, it's kind of a put down term, accusing them of being Chinese spies. These got videoed and put up on the internet, and there was a huge blow up, including the Okinawan governor saying you can't have out of prefecture police coming here and racially abusing the Okinawan protesters, which the government of Okinawa supports. They don't want the space built either. However, another video just came up the other day, which basically shows the same Osaka police getting pretty heavily assaulted and mocked and abused, and not doing anything, like slapped in the face, kicked, hat taken off and thrown away, and they're just standing there. I mean, you think in America, they probably would have shot everybody 10 times. But it kind of shows, again, I mean, the protesters are trying, it's part of it's a big propaganda war. They're trying to provoke them. And they succeeded with some of them. They succeeded in getting them to, gold mine saying racist stuff back. But yeah, there's lots of videos on both sides of the debate. Workers who work on the US bases often take videos of having to drive through these protests every day, and sometimes they get pretty seriously. Their cars get stopped, they get threatened through the window and stuff like that. Both sides want to portray themselves as the victims. The other side as well, however, they do confront police, and and you get Coast Guard and police, and they've been caught beating them and abusing them and so on as well. So it's a horrible, intractable issue, this one in Okinawa, and there's a lot of people in Okinawa who are very passionately and basically live off this issue. So there's a lot of media stuff going on. I think it's interesting just to get both sides of it. There's a lot of media attention, even English media attention, about the abuse of the Osakan police. This kind of flips the other way, and every single one of these are both ways, and frankly both sort of behaving badly. I would say it would definitely suck to be a police officer sent down there to police these protests. But yeah, it's tough. Lots of overwork cases lately. Photography, informed consent is what we're talking about there. The issue that a lot of talent agencies have with high-profile entertainers who refuse to appear on screen with certain other talents, which is why the whole industry is falling apart. What else have we got? Trying to stop rich Japanese from hiding their assets overseas. They're expanding the scope of the inheritance tax to include overseas assets, which is a little bit worrying if you're a foreigner who lives here, and you don't have to be a permanent resident, you just have to be a permanent tax resident here to be subject to that. So that's kind of interesting. The Japanese inheritance tax, by the way, something like 70%. It's very high anyway. Basically when you die, if you don't manage to transfer your assets to the people you want to transfer them to in your will, if you're caught holding them when you pass away, most of them will be confiscated by the government and redistributed. It's a very communist sort of a system. Hey, that guy Fox, great to see you, man, long time. This Japanese lady, it's not surprising it's a Japanese lady, of course, and she's quite cute, looks after herself quite well. She spent 70 grand on Barbie stuff. Not my bag, but I can respect the dedication to the hobby. Live videos, Facebook does it, Periscope, Twitter does it, Ustream does it. It looks like Instagram is going to do it, but YouTube still doesn't, at least not properly from the mobile thing, so that's kind of interesting. Shubus from Panama, yes. Good to have you here, Shubus, as always. And Oka, also good to have you. I don't think I said hello to you yet. Mr. Cordychep, Okinawa is awesome and you should totally go there, and I love it down there. Those protests happen in a very limited area, basically at the entrance of the US bases down there. It does make it kind of tough to be an owner of land near those bases or someone who works on those bases. But Okinawa is big and it is beautiful, and the people down there are awesome, and you should totally go. What else we got here? A French fast breeder nuclear reactor is going to be shut down. It was apparently the Japanese helped design it. Yeah, it's my fault, but silly, sorry about that. They are asking for $5.7 billion from the Japanese government, half the cost of decommissioning it. Yep, isn't that great? The Nintendo Switch. I want to see in the comments. I'm guessing everybody here has seen the video demonstrating the Nintendo Switch. It's not going to be around for a while. This is really intriguing. I can't really own a console anymore, basically because I just have so little time that I'm able to wear the I'm able to sit in front of the TV in the living room, let alone play video games there. So this whole concept of the Switch, the more I think about it, the fact that from a kid's perspective, you can throw it in your bag and do it on the play it on the train or at school, or when you're over at your friend's house. And from my perspective, pretty much the same thing. I could play it on my commute, come home. If I was going on a business trip, I could just plug it into the TV in a hotel. A portable console, it's not a. I actually think this idea is better than the VR idea that Sony is coming out with. The VR Sony console looks great, and if I was single, I would buy one. If I was living on my own, I would buy one. But I'm never going to have the chance to really play it. This seems more realistic. Apparently Nintendo's shares dropped in reaction to this coming out, but I think it looks pretty good. I don't know, what do people here think? Would they get this? I'm thinking it's probably. I was a little bit curious whether the controllers had motion detectors like the Wii, so I thought that was actually quite good. but not clear if that is the case or not. J.J. Abrams actually apparently hadn't watched Star Trek, a Star Trek movie before making the first, or before he got taken on to make this movie, which was interesting. He's a Star Wars guy, which is good news because Rogue One looks like it's going to be awesome. What else have we got here? This is interesting, 3D printing of shoes. That's kind of cool. Here is the drama with the Okinawan protesters that I was just talking about, which I just find interesting just because it's a very two-sided issue. More on the denser overtime and how people were forced to write down their overtime when they did 105 hours to write it down to 69.9. There's another case actually which NHK covered. I couldn't find a story on it to tweet. The legal absolute limit for overtime, like you actually get penalized or something if there's something more than 200 hours overtime. For an idea, thinking basically that an average working month is 160, that's 360 hours. I know one person who has worked 400 hours for 1 month and was hospitalized by it. So apparently when they were doing all of the safety improvements on all the nuclear reactors, all the power companies got a special waiver from the Ministry of Health to be allowed to force their workers to work above the 200-hour limit, like for multiple months. And this happened when they did this 3 months ago. A worker from TEPCO committed suicide after working like 250 hours, overtime, i.e. that plus 160, so 410, around 400 hours a month for like multiple months. Yeah, really, really crazy. And the commentary on the news was, that's not a an arbitrary regulatory limit. That's a you will die if you work more than this limit. You can't ever waive it. But they did because of the urgency around understaffing, basically, and the urgency to get the nuclear reactors restarted. They literally said they can work the engineers to death, and some of them have started to die now. So right at the moment, the overworking thing is crazy. It's a really big thing. That is dense severe. Totori Ken, they had that big earthquake the other day. Fortunately, as we were explaining the other day, Okinawa is... sorry, I was just reading that tweet and say Okinawa. Totori is very sparsely populated, so the damage is relatively limited, but still quite serious. I mean, they get serious quakes out there, as you get pretty much everywhere in Japan, but it's pretty terrible. Down the bottom is an article talking about the racial discriminatory language used. There was another debate, by the way, about those two clips of what those Osaka police said. The governor of Okinawa of Osaka stood up on the side of the police officers saying, the people of Osaka are behind their police down there who are working under impossible conditions and being provoked all the time. Basically blame the Okinawans for provoking their police, the Osakan police guys, into screaming racist slander at them. Which I half appreciate, that they were definitely probably provoked and pushed into it, and I agree it's probably a very stressful and a very tough job. But there again, could you imagine if Alabama National Guard were sent to Los Angeles during the riots and were filmed, racially abusing local black Los Angeles people? Probably wouldn't be considered acceptable, even if they were legitimately put under psychological stress, right? So yes. And that's right, that's always sorry, the one I'm thinking of, John K, is Kansai. It's the one that you're talking about. But there have been a few cases like that where it's just been crazy, and they told the guy that if he didn't do the overtime, the plant would be shut down, everyone would lose their jobs. So yeah. Mr. Cordychet, that would be an interesting idea. I think the problem would not be importing them, it would be exporting them when they're done. Some places you can go to from Tokyo that look pretty cool. I'll show you this. Within Tokyo, 60 minutes of Tokyo Station. That specific photo is not one of the places that, although you could go to Shimoda, that's about 2 hours, that's more than 60 minutes. Canoeing on the rivers around Tokyo. The rivers are a lot less polluted than they used to be, but try not to fall into the water. But there again, there you go, 5,500 yen for 90 minutes, looks like a lot of fun. Glass making at a traditional Edo or glass making factory, that looks like fun. This is what a lot of people have been talking about. I have seen this and it looks really cool. You can rent and cosplay as Mario Kart races and actually Mario Kart through Roppongi for 2 hours for 3,000 yen. That is insanely good. You just have to be over 16 years old with a legitimate driver's license, i.e. an international one. This is actually something I would really like to try. Stand-up paddleboarding, sup. I have tried this in Hawaii. It was awesome, and I'd love to do it again, so this is pretty cool. And by the way, the thing with Okinawa and China, that's another one worth getting into. Okinawa used to pay tributes, basically taxes to China in the old days, as did Korea, by the way. China defines, when it says what the proper boundaries of China are with these big expanded Greater China maps, traditional China, they basically consider China to be all of the kingdoms and lands that paid taxes to the Chinese government. By that definition, both Korea and Okinawa fall in the traditional definition of being ruled by China. And when Chinese start talking about the disputed parts of the Okinawan island chain that they say were incorrectly divvied up by the Americans at the end of World War II, sometimes it comes up that they don't necessarily limit their claims just to those islands, actually, because actually the rest of the New Chu Islands were themselves, they reported up to China, and Japan had to have kind of a covert relationship with them until China became so weak and Japan kind of became strong during the 19th century that it openly came in, and in a very similar way to the way that Germany unified with Austria. They kidnapped a princess, and it was very much by coercion that Okinawa was also integrated into Japan. So that in itself is all used as material by Chinese to claim, hey, maybe we should just take it over, which would be a very bad idea, by the way. Very much a part of Japan today, but some interesting history. Forest tours in Hakone, that looks really cool as well, but that's a little bit more than an hour away. Grape picking, I think this is Yamanashi, right? And that is pretty cool, and you can do there's a lot of sort of those orchards around Tokyo, so lots of cool stuff you can do within 60 minutes of Tokyo Station. Tokyo's awesome. This is the racist police officer thing. This is I tweeted this just because I thought it was so funny. Having worked at IT companies for a long time, and there have been a few of these blogs about how to get people who work at the IT company I used to work at, or how to get an IT boyfriend. You'd be nuts to want an IT boyfriend, seriously. I mean, they're either alpha assholes or they're half worked to death, and no, I don't understand why that makes any sense. I think this is the IT people are just making these blogs up themselves to try to get girlfriends. New Zealand broke yesterday. I believe that they broke the world record for consecutive international test match wins. They won 18 matches in a row. However, apparently I was wrong. Cyprus, a European Category 2B country, so they play, they don't really play very high level internationals. They have had a 24 win streak, but All Blacks, New Zealand, are now up to 18. So now that they've beaten the former record held by South Africa and New Zealand, hopefully they'll beat the Cyprus record now. Chris B. The ethnicity, I see people are getting into the ethnicity thing. Ethnicity is tricky. It's tricky in any situation because there's so much sort of overlapping and so on. I mean, you could argue that people from Kagoshima and people from Akita are ethnicities as well to some extent. Like there are certain characteristics of faces and appearance and so on in different locations. Okinawa has been politically separate from Japan for a long time. And they do have their own separate language and very separate culture. Even within Okinawa, you've got Yonaguni, which has a different dialect and culture and history of isolation from the rest of Okinawa as well. So it's kind of tricky to get into that, and you certainly can't say, I mean, again, Chinese as an ethnicity doesn't exist. China has like a massive number of ethnicities. I mean, the Han Chinese are what everyone thinks of as Chinese, but they're not all of China. There are dozens of different ones. And indeed, as Crispy points out as well, there are ethnic indigenous Taiwanese and many different types of ethnic Taiwanese. And the Hawaiians and the New Zealand Maori came from Taiwan originally. So yeah, exactly. So it's tricky to get into all that business about ethnicity. However, it is true, and you can say that Okinawans do have a distinct appearance, and they definitely have a very distinct dialect that's very practically impossible to understand from normal Japanese. And a very distinct history and so on. It's a fascinating place. What else we got here? I'm going to do a couple more of these, and then I'm just going to I'm going to roll out a little bit. Bad Ben, what did Ben say? Linux is Linux is not awesome. Well, exactly. I suppose Victor and I are indeed different cultures. So what do we got here? The future with little robots helping us do stuff. That's kind of cool. Iceland being awesome. Juno, lots of cool space stuff lately. Hydrogen self-charging buses. I do like this Nintendo Switch. I think that looks kind of cool. My nose is feeling a lot better now. Just at the beginning there it got tough. The Hawaiians. The Hawaiians came from Taiwan. Did you know that, Ty? The Hawaiians also, they came from the same place that the New Zealand Maori came from, Hawaii, which sounds like Hawaii, but actually it's different. Hawaii is probably located around the Cook Islands. It's the place where the West Pacific Polynesians and the East Pacific Polynesians split up. The Samoans, Tongans, Tahitians, and Hawaiians went one direction, and the Maori and Cook Islanders went another direction. But anyway, I like all of that. That is the that is a New Zealand record from yesterday. That was awesome. And we got it by beating Australia, and the Australians got very, very upset. They claimed that there was one try that they got, a touchdown, a try that got turned down, called back because of a video replay, and that they thought was the moment that pivoted the whole match, and that they could have won the match if that try hadn't been reversed. However, they lost 6 tries to 1, so I don't think you get to argue that, even though I think they are right that it was a bad call. So yeah, that was interesting from yesterday. What else we got here? I don't want to see new items, but it forces me to see them, so now I've got to go back through all of these, so let's do that. The Lapita pottery people, they came down from Taiwan through Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, out to Cook Islands, and then they migrated all over became the Polynesians. Wasn't known until about 20 years ago, actually, but it's kind of interesting. There are the Ainu museums in Hokkaido are awesome. There are a couple of Ainu exhibits in museums in Ueno in Tokyo, and they're terrible. And it was kind of shocking. If you go to New Zealand, part of our identity is based on our ethnic indigenous people are part of what define us and make us unique as New Zealanders. Without the Maori people, we're just a bunch of British tourists who didn't go home. Like Canada, like South Africa, like Australia, it's having Maori and the relationship and the history that we have with the local people, and becoming local ourselves and becoming integrated and mixed with Maori. That's what kind of makes New Zealand different. It took New Zealand a long time to come to terms with and embrace its indigenous culture, and Japan arguably still hasn't come to terms with it. But now if you go to museums in New Zealand, it's very, very dominated by our Maori heritage. Japan, when I expected the same thing when I went to the Ueno, Anthropological Museum of Japan, and the Ainu exhibit was like, it was like 1/10 the size of the Jomon period, Japanese, who some people think are actually linked to the Ainu. So yeah, it's kind of very disappointing in Tokyo, but I forgot America, sorry about that. But yeah, if you go up to Hokkaido, around Kanko and stuff, it's really cool. And for me, it feels very familiar as a New Zealander going up there and seeing all the cool local indigenous culture stuff. And indeed, like America. What else we got here? Yes, the Australians are very upset with us. This just makes it, you have to understand, Australia, it makes us feel even better when you're upset after the game. But yeah, it's become kind of routine beating them lately, which is a shame. Yes, apparently riot police didn't know that the racial slurs that they were using were racist. Again, imagine the Alabama National Guard guys in Los Angeles saying that we didn't know that those racial slurs were racist. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. Sorry, Osaka police guys. I appreciate they were probably under a lot of stress and provocation, but no, you don't get a pass around that, I'm afraid. Dueling Star Wars drones, yes, I want to buy all of them. I want to see this done with Japanese movie titles. This is done with Czech, and it's kind of funny. It shows, like, for example, the Hurt Locker becomes Death Weights Everywhere. Full Metal Jacket becomes Lead Vest. I really want to see the Japanese version of this because I think that'd actually be much more entertaining, or at least the old ones. Sexual minorities in Japan, this is interesting. Again, the traditional view is that Japan is totally not tolerant of sexual minorities, and then lately it's becoming like, well, Japan seems pretty easygoing and liberal. But then there's been some stuff, putting the flip side of that again as well, where people who have been outed have committed suicide. So it's kind of complicated here at the moment. But yes. Wow, Mr. Quarty Chip, you can get to 30 degrees centigrade in winter. That's pretty hot. I'll tell you what, I said I was going to keep it short, but I am feeling more comfortable now. Tampopo, good movie. Probably the first Japanese movie I ever watched, and it baffled the shit out of me. I should watch it again now, actually. I haven't watched it for a long time. It's a movie about a woman who wanted to, a karate kid of making ramen. Made in Japan by Japanese people, and it's really sort of avant-garde and weird in places, but it's got some great scenes in it. British Tea, what's this? Victor's only here on Saturdays, that's right. There's I did see the Japan, I saw the Japanese newspaper articles about the medical staff for foreigners, the visas for care workers for 2020, which I think is a good thing. Some people here, they love Tampopo, which is good. Foreign spouse, happy life, really? I'm not quite so sure about that, but why not? The Gervais principle, I've been told to read this, I haven't read this yet, but there's this company hierarchy, and it actually comes out, it's a social theory of how psychopathic companies work. On the idea that most companies are psychopathic, and they use the characters from The Office in order to explain this social theory of how companies operate, with sociopaths in the top, clueless people in the middle, and loser slaves at the bottom. And a very jaded friend of mine told me to read this. I haven't read it yet, but apparently it is very good, so I saved that, and that's a good reminder to myself to check that out. And you know what? I'm gonna do some music. How about some music? I've got a track which I've been meaning to record. That isn't recorded yet, so why don't I do that? So let me switch into camera mode. Where is the camera? It's over here. I haven't done this for a while. There is the camera. You might catch my legs a bit like this if I'm not careful. So let me put in a headphone, and I'm going to do an outro. I haven't done an outro for a while, so let's do an outro. So, and this should be coming through. I've already queued this one up. That's the track. I'm going to probably record that note, upload that soon. All my music, as well as the music of Tai Nakamura, Mata Gaijinka, and all the other awesome people from Tokyo Digital Crew, they are on SoundCloud on Tokyo Digital Crew. Just look us up. All the music is downloadable, royalty free, and reusable, and it's all that good stuff in Tokyo Digital Cult. If that's what you want it to be, that's what it can be. I'm also playing around with making a new track. It's not quite where I want it yet. In fact, it's not quite there yet, but this is what I'm playing with. This is one I'm just playing with at the moment anyway. That's kind of cool. I kind of like the way I got the bass on this person. Well, anyway, so I'm playing around with it as a bass track, and then I'm going to expand it out to a full track. But this is, yeah, all the stuff I'm doing. Anyway, I'm going to rock out. Hope you guys have a good week. I've done way too many shows this week, 3 nights in a row, but great to see you all, as always. Hope you enjoyed keeping up with what's going on in Japan and just catching up. Lots of cool stuff coming up, by the way. There's also going to be the Creator Day, the English Creator Day, November 27. Make sure you sign up for that. I've got an event page all set up for it. On November 5th, 2.5 Oyajis. So next week after next, we're getting Roy Miller back on. I'm going to be going and hanging out at the Ginza Hub, and we'll be doing that with him. That will be awesome. More tips on starting up a business in Japan. Lots of cool stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Stay tuned. Keep cool. My Twitter is up to like I'm 20 short of 10,000, so I'll do a special show when I get to that as well. Talk about Twitter for a show. Phoenix, I should do. I've been meaning to. I set up a whole channel for, and some of the other guys from Tokyo Digital Crew have been talking about music on that, and I mean to get around to doing that myself, so I will do that. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna rock out with this, and so everyone have a good night and peace. Boom. Doesn't, by the way, work yet. It doesn't quite all work all together very well. Have a good night, everyone. Boom. Peace.